Titans beat the Dolphins as Miami melts with under 3 minutes to go, blowing a 14-point lead. Rolled out is absolutely hilarious. I don't even know if it's true, but I'd like to believe it is. I did the math. It's about 23 years of NFL games, if I'm not mistaken, based on what they said here. So again, the Titans beat the Dolphins. Miami melts with under 3 minutes to go. They blow the 14-point lead. Coming into the game, the Dolphins were the only team in the NFL without a loss to a team with a losing record. The Dolphins are the first team in NFL history to lose a game in regulation while winning by 14 points or more with less than 3 minutes to go in the game. The previous teams were 17,561 and 0 before Monday night. With this happening, 760 plus teams have lost consecutively with this happening. Or really, you could, now that I say that, it doesn't sound correct. 17,561 consecutive teams had won, being up 14 or more with less than 3 minutes to go. The Miami Dolphins managed to make that 17,561 and 1 after this game. So very, very bad. You know that you're not supposed to blow a lead like this in the NFL. The Dolphins had the momentum off the top, too. I mean, pick six off Will Levis in the first quarter. Defensive lineman literally picks it at the 5, runs it in. Will Levis looks kind of shaken. It's like, okay, Miami's going to be able to run away with this. We just saw them blow the Commanders out of the water, put a 40-burger up on them. Now, the Dolphins did lose Tyreek Hill for a little bit, which is very unfortunate. He's still on pace for the first ever 2,000-yard season with 2,016 yards, technically, if he continues on the pace that he's at. Now, Tyree did come back in the game and make a couple of big plays, but this offense isn't the same without him in the lineup, and that is very, very apparent. Very apparent that the offense is not the same without him in the lineup. Why is this so small? It's because I made it 1. There we go. And I mean, that's going to be a given. If you have the fastest player to ever play the game, a top receiver, the best receiver in the NFL, not in your lineup, one of the best players in the league, it's going to affect your team, no question about it. The first 3 red zone trips for the Dolphins produced just 6 points. It was 2 field goals and then a lost fumble. The Dolphins even got a muff punt inside the 10 with 6 minutes to go. And then the next drive, a fumble inside the 15. Both of those turned into touchdowns for the Miami Dolphins. And then they choked it away, just like the Titans did with the last 2 possessions. The Dolphins turned right back around and said, no, we don't want to win this game. You can have it back. The Dolphins scored 21 points off turnovers and still lost this game. Tennessee blocked a 44-yard field goal in the second quarter, and then an unsportsmanlike conduct foul on Bradley Chubb turned a 4th down into a 1st down for the Titans. So a mental error there. We know that penalties can really change the perspective of a game. Derrick Henry found the end zone just a few plays later, and that made it a 4-point swing at that point. Miami had 7 penalties for 61 yards, and the Titans picked up 144 yards on 13 plays on their last couple of drives. Miami was absolutely getting gashed. The defense was so tired from being on the field. They gave up 11.1 yards per play on the last 13 plays that the Titans ran to pick up those 144 yards and ultimately go and win the football game. And Tua was not good on the last 2 drives as well. I mean, he's throwing a swing pass 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Not a good call at all. I'm looking at Mike McDaniel and even Frank Smith after that one. I know there's more Mike McDaniel than anything because he does call the plays. Now, the Dolphins do have the toughest schedule left with the Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills. They could definitely go winless in these games. The Dolphins have not beat a team with a winning record all season long. They could beat the Jets, but if the Jets defense shows up like it has a couple of times and like they just played against the Texans, the Dolphins aren't going to win that football game. The Cowboys are on fire right now. The Ravens are on fire right now. And the Bills are starting to get hot at the right time of the year. The Bills might not make the playoffs. The Jets aren't going to make the playoffs more than likely. But if Miami goes 0-4 in this last stretch to go 9-8, that's going to change a lot of things in the AFC playoffs. And I hate to say it, but that's very possible for the Miami Dolphins right now. Toughest schedule in the NFL the last 4 weeks. Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. It's about to get real daunting and real scary for Miami right about now. Now, thankfully, Miami doesn't require any outside help to achieve the top seed in the conference to become the 1 seed in the AFC. If they win each game, that would give them a 13-4 record in the head-to-head tiebreaker over the current Baltimore Ravens, who they play in Week 17. Miami's 2-game lead in the division means a Week 18 win over Buffalo would result in the team's first division title since 2008. But Will Levis in this game, man, I mean, you got to give credit to him. you got to give him a shout out. Will Levis being the second round pick, everything we heard from him in the draft, not wanting to be in the war room in the second day, putting mayonnaise in his coffee, not really being that solid of a guy coming out of college, in my opinion, lazy form, didn't like his tape, didn't like his combine, didn't like his pro days. And it just sounds like I'm a Will Levis hater, right? And when the Titans picked him, I was like, you just had Malik Willis, who was a very top prospect in that draft, next to Desmond Ritter and whatnot. Of course, there was Bryce Young as well. Well, never mind. That was, Bryce Young just came in this year. Let me get my years correct. Will Levis is playing pretty solid football at this point for the Tennessee Titans. DeAndre Hopkins is making catches. Derrick Henry's taking the pressure off him, being a great running back, and rightfully so. Mike Vrabel's got this team in a decent position where, yeah, they're not going to push for the playoffs, but they're going to play you tough. They're going to get physical with you. They're going to push you around. You always know that you were in a game with the Titans by the time you're done playing them, because that's how Mike Vrabel coaches. And that's been the thing about the Dolphins. If you can push the Dolphins around, which they were in this game, you can beat them. But Will Levis is looking amazing this early in his career. He's comfortable. He's decisive. He runs his offense well. He was only sacked one time, so he had a lot of time to get rid of the football in this one. 23 of 38, 327 yards, absolute money. But the Titans defense was also very good as well. Miami was 4 of 13 on third down and 2 of 5 in the red zone. Even more impressive, the Titans were ranked 27th in offense and 25th in scoring offense. So 27th in offensive yards per game, 25th in offensive points per game. They drove 75 and 64 yards against an exhausted Miami Dolphins defense, who ranked 6th coming into the game. And they scored the 2 critical touchdown drives to upset the Dolphins in one of the biggest upsets of the year. And now we have to take a look at the Miami Dolphins of, okay, you can't beat good teams. You got 3 of the last 4 teams coming up on your schedule are pretty good. They're all going to be in the playoffs outside of the Jets and, of course, maybe the Bills as well. I do think the Bills could possibly sneak in. And now you lose to the Tennessee Titans at home in a game that was a gimme, or at least should have been a gimme. And because one player in Tyreek Hill goes out, it's that drastically different. And I'm not discounting that, because I understand how the league works. Like, you lose a premier player, you lose a star player that puts up points for you, puts up stats for you, you're going to look different. And they played without Tyreek Hill for large chunks of this game. But knowing how they choked in the final 3 minutes, I don't know if Tyreek Hill would have made a difference, really, because that defense was gassed. They were exhausted. They were not going to be able to pull this game out. And now we have a team like the Dolphins losing to the Titans. So it's like, okay, we know you can beat bad teams, but you just lost to a bad team. You blew a lead to a bad team. And now you're about to go pay the Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills. If the Dolphins are lucky, they'll go 2-2 in those games and go 11-6. They could possibly go 9-8. I don't think they're going to win out. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and have them going 2-2 and 11-6. But if they go 10-7, it's going to be a way, way different swing of things for Miami, especially as it gets into the postseason for the AFC. But the Titans, again, beat the Dolphins as Miami just crumbles, blowing the 14-point lead. 17,561 teams had won when they were leading with 14 points or more with under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And the Miami Dolphins said, hold my beer. I will be able to make this one historic. And we'll go on and lose this game.